star.com.
You had me at shuck and oyster from its salty bed.
It always works.
16-year-olds could be given the right to vote in the UK if the Labor Party in that country wins the next general election. The push to lower the voting age follows the Scottish independence referendum in which 16 and 17-year-olds were allowed to take part.
Scotland's outgoing First Minister Alex Salmond and the British opposition want the same provisions applied to all ballots now. So is it a good idea, and should we look at lowering our voting age here in Australia? Well, someone who would definitely vote yes is Leo Fieldgrass from the Australian Youth Affairs Coalition. Morning to you, Leo. Thanks for coming down. Why do you say that it's a good idea for 16 and 17-year-olds to vote? Because there seems to be some conjecture over whether it actually does engage young people in voting from an early age.
So, as the leading advocate for young Australians, AYAC has been behind this idea since 2009, and I'll give you 3 reasons why this is a great idea for Australia.
Sorry, Leo. We have a small technical problem here in that we can't hear you. Can we just run a mic in and we'll see if we can get Leo up and running?
See from our roadie comes in.
All right. Start again, Leo, quick.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
why is it a good idea?
AYAC is the leading advocate for young Australians, and this is an idea that we've been behind since 2009. And I'll give you 3 reasons why it's a fantastic idea for Australian democracy. So the first is that it will strengthen the Australian electoral process. So research shows that the earlier young people get involved in voting, the more likely they are to stay voting through the rest of their lives. Secondly, it's going to engage young people in Australian democratic values at an earlier age, and it's going to give them a sense of belonging. Now, there's a lot of talk at the moment around protecting young people from becoming involved in extremist politics, and we want to give young people a sense of belonging to the Australian community. Now, I've got a young daughter, and I want her to grow up feeling like she's got a voice in Australia, feeling like she belongs in Australia. I'm sure that every parent out there wants the same for their own kids, so votes at 16 can do that. The third reason is that it's going to make our politicians more accountable to more Australians, so they're going to have to appeal directly to younger voters, and we're less likely to see the kind of policy beat-ups of young people that we have done in perhaps the recent federal budget or the withdrawing of Gonski funding. So more Australians getting involved for longer in voting, more accountable politicians. What's not to like about that?
Leo, the Electoral Commission undertook some research that showed that 25% of eligible voters aged 18 to 24 did not register to vote. So, I mean, that is the highest demographic of non-registries, right? So what's to assume that 16 and 17-year-olds are going to be more involved than that? And if we do want to do it from the point of view of enhancing, adherence to our democratic structures, does that need to be backed up by, by something in programs in schools to ensure that there is, that citizenship?
Yeah, so look, there's a couple of issues there. Firstly, around the 18 to 24-year-olds, I do think it is concerning that there's a large amount of 18 to 24-year-olds that didn't register to vote, and I think there's a number of reasons for that. But I do think there's a flaw in the argument that says that 18 to 24-year-olds will behave in the same way as 16 to 17-year-olds.
Right.
Because that's the same as saying middle-aged people are going to behave in the same way as old-age pensioners, and we know that that's not the case. So research in Austria, where votes have been given to 16 and 17-year-olds, has shown that 16 and 17-year-olds are more likely to vote than 18 to 24 year olds.
Yeah, right.
So on your second point around education of young people, the great thing is that 16 and 17-year-olds are going to be learning about this through school. They're going to be learning about this through flexible education settings, so they're going to be far more engaged, perhaps, than 18 to 24-year-olds.
Yeah. All right. Well, Leo, terrific. Thank you very much for that. We're out of time, but it's really something interesting to consider, and also as to whether or not that would sway the ballot one way or another. I mean, they
say that it favours left-leaning.
It swings left, yeah.
Exactly. So it depends on who's in government, probably, as to whether it gets through or not. Thanks very much, Leo.
Cheers. I think the research doesn't actually bear that notion out.
I think that people just assume that's going to be the case.
Yeah, indeed. Up next, the latest news headlines. Then, how to keep your child safe in the digital space.